So essentially, if you're looking at selling a house through a realtor, the house is already fixed up, so it's already after repair, theoretically. So the comps are equal to the after repair value. But we're investors, so we're looking at the repairs. And well, once we've done the repairs, now the house is in after repair condition. So this is the way in which I calculate, and a lot of people calculate, the after repair value. So then I think there are three different ways in which you can generate the after repair value, the comps. One is there's a program out there, an application, it's called PropStream, and they seem to have pretty good data. That's a whole education in itself. They have some nice tools there. I think it's $97 a month. You can look into that externally, or you can go to the Rehab Estimator. So as you can see on the screen, I've already picked up a property. I've entered the address, and I like the address. It's kind of cool. It's 123 Freedom. That address then gave me, it was built in 1949, is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, 1,242 square feet. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a selection criteria that's going to eliminate properties. So if you think about gathering a big long list, in this case we actually gathered 60 properties around this. We filtered by a 1-mile radius and a 1-year time frame. Now normally you're going to use a tighter criteria than that, but because it's automated, I wanted to gather in one shot all this data. And then you're going to sort those and start eliminating records. So we're going to walk down the list of the criteria that you're going to use to eliminate records. And what you're going to do is you're going to start throwing out records that don't meet the criteria. And then hopefully you get to 2 or 3 or 4 properties that fit the criteria. So what you're looking for are comparables. So if I'm a buyer and I'm going to buy this house, then I need to say, you know, this other house is a house that would be equivalent, comparable to the same house. So it gives me a number. So if I look in the neighborhood and go, you know, 100,000, 100,000, 100,000, then my house had better be selling for 100,000 if the houses are similar. So here's the way in which you determine similar. And in general, there aren't, you know, you're going to have a couple of properties that are going to fit their criteria. If you come up with one property or no properties, then what you're going to do is start loosening the criteria. And there's some criteria that you can't automate, that local information is absolutely critical to. An example of which is school district, because on this side you might have a really good school district, and this side you'd have a really bad school district. So houses literally across the street from each other that could be built by the same builder at the same time or identical floor plan could be $10,000, $20,000 difference. And that's significant. And that's something you can't automate. The criteria that I use and a lot of people use is the following. We're going to use the decade that the building was built. Okay? So if I look at a house built in 1960, a 1990 house is just not comparable. You know, the quality probably is less than 1960 was decently built. If I compare that with the 1930s, they really knew how to build houses in the 1930s. Well, most builders. 1960s, the quality level dropped some. By the 1990s, it dropped a lot. So they're not comparable houses. But the 1990 house might have newer stuff in it. So the basic criteria is plus and minus. It's really plus and minus 5 years. I say let's start with 10. The next criteria is that of number of bedrooms. So if, in this case, subject house is a 2-bedroom, if I'm looking at 2 bedrooms, then 3 bedrooms is going to be more expensive to me. It's a bigger house. It may not be what I'm looking for. I like it, but you know, it's not so good. If I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, and compare it with the 2 bedrooms, those are not the same. Square footage, 300 square feet plus or minus is considered equivalent. Some people use 200, I use 300. The distance from the property. So the closer the houses are, the better. So if you have 2 houses that are next to each other, that's great, because there's no distance between them, and they're probably built by the same builder. So they're going to be comparable, given the other criteria. So distance, half a mile or less, and if you can't find enough, you can extend that to 3/4 of a mile, and then you start to deteriorate when you get further out. If you get unique houses, triplexes or something, you may not be able to find comparables with any kind of reasonable distance, in which case then the criteria becomes much harder to determine. This system doesn't really, is not really set up for handling the serious multifamilies. Duplex, you could consider it to be 2 single families. I usually use a 1.5 in terms of pricing. And then sold date. You really want to keep it within 6 months. Okay, now we're coming off the end of the COVID, so the last 6 months have been weird. If this was June after, so last June, things began in March, the prior March, then the numbers are just going to be weird, and you have to take that into account. There's no way to automate that kind of thing. Then some of the other criteria are natural boundaries, rivers, big highways, sometimes railroad tracks. You've heard of the other side of the tracks. Well, those are real, and so you have to take those into account. And that's where the local truth, the ground truth is, so that you have to know your neighborhoods, should become familiar with your neighborhoods that you want to buy in. Now, if you're sitting in Colorado looking at properties in Ohio, that can be sometimes a little difficult. So you can get an approximation on the value of the property, but you need to have somebody that's local be able to actually look at the property, first off to make sure that it's actually there, that the house is still there, and know that information about the neighborhoods. All right.